We are back in sunny Florida. The tie looks straight.
Perfect.
See, I have a mirror. So I have it. I'm going to use your cell phone. I'm not going to look at anything else but the Torah page that I sent you. So this comes from the Zera Shimshon, a great Hacham, which I spoke about him the other day. So now he writes and it says as follows. Why specifically do we take the ears of Haman? You have a Hamantashen somewhere?
Yes, right here.
Okay? You give me a napkin. Because I need to have it. It's a clean?
Yeah.
Hazaku Baruch. Which flavor is this? Apricot.
The best.
Next time you give me chocolate to dulce de leche. Thank you so much.
They didn't have left.
You know why? I in purpose did not bring chocolate to dulce de leche. Because we will not have enough.
So you didn't start it.
I brought raspberry and apricot, standard.
That's what.
Okay, so let's look at a minute. I'll eat this later if I have to, right?
Yes.
As the Osne Haman. First of all, they are shaped in a triangle. Just in this shape, there is a derasha. The shape of the triangle in our Torah, before we're going to read the Zera Shimshon, represents a certain vowel in the Hebrew alphabet. You know the name of this vowel?
G-man.
No, vowel.
Wow.
Segol. The three dots. If I look at the Hamantashen, I'm using my fingers, I'm going to eat it after. L'shem Shamayim. You see? It fits in the mold of the Segol. What is the Segol? It's actually a pasuk in the Torah, how God calls the Jewish people. Be'atem tiyuli le'am segullah. Segol. Segol is a triangle. What is the triangle? Abraham, Ishaq, Yaakov. Torah, Nevi'im, Ketubim. Moshe, Aharon, Miriam. Kohanim, Levi'im, Israelim. Any shape I move it, any direction I move it, I have the memshos. The same format, the angle can be in the center, to the side, etc. What Haman wanted to do, he wanted to destroy the chosen nation. So comes the Zera Shimshon and it says, why we didn't make something representing the eyes, the hands, or a different body part? And the question can be asked even stronger. How can you make something sweet from something so sinister and so dark like Haman? How many different titles we give to Haman in the Megillah? Haman Ara'azeh, Ish Sar Be'oyev, Haman Ben Amedat HaAgagi, Haman Arasha, Sorera Yehudim. Yani the worst accolades to an enemy of the Jews are found in today's Megillah. So why do you make something sweet from something so negative for the Jewish people? Not only that, according to the Shulchan Aruch and others, there are other things that people do in order to fulfill the pasuk that says, Timhe et zecher Amalek. There is a mitzvah, the reading of today, and the reading of Shabbat Zachor. Both of them related to Amalek. Amalek, the great-grandfather of Haman. What is the mitzvah of Amalek? Timhe et zecher Amalek. Erase the memory of Amalek. You know what that means, erasing the memory? You cannot have anything that belongs to Amalek. There is a building that belongs to Amalek, you have to destroy it. You have an animal that belongs to Amalek, you have to slaughter the animal, you cannot eat the meat. There is money from Amalek, you have to burn the money. That's the level of erasing Amalek, yani cut, delete, and clean the recycle bin. Reset your cell phone to factory settings. No memory whatsoever. So the question is, why do you eat it? So perhaps we can say as follows. There is a pasuk in the Navi Yeshaya that says, Shim'u uthi nafshechem. Listen and your soul will revive, will resurrect. We're talking about now listening. Amru Rabbeinu Zichronam Livracha, our holy rabbis tell us, Hakol talui ba'ozen. Everything depends on the ear of the person. That's why the Gemara writes, one of the reasons why we have fingers in our hands is that when it comes to listen to something unpleasant or lashon hara, etc., what do? You take your fingers, you plug your ears. Why? Because the ears are the easiest way to penetrate into the body of the person. Continues the Sera Shimshon and it says, Mishemate osno lishmoa divrei Torah, a person who inclines his ears to listen to words of Torah, etc., yesh lo haim, will be granted life. Why? Se pasuk, ozen shoma'at tohachat haim. Shlomo HaMelech says, the ears have the benefit that they are able to listen not only words of Torah, because you can listen to words of Torah, or you can listen to words of Musar. What's the difference between Torah and Musar? Torah, Musar is Torah, but the word Torah is global. Torah, Nevi'im, Ketubim, Mishnah, Gemara, Halacha, Zohar, Kabbalah, Midot Tovot, and then you have Musar. What's the meaning of Musar? Musar means a rebuke to the person, or reproof. What does it mean? Telling the person to change their behavior. When I say you need to change, you need to do this, or you need to do that in a behavioral manner, that's a call Musar. Not all the Torah classes are classes of Musar. You have classes of Gemara. You have classes of Halacha. You have classes of Perashah. You have classes of Musar. Musar is basically the topic in the Torah that helps us to become better people and better Jews. Not only better people, but better Yehudim. That's why Musar sometimes is connected to the mitzvot that we need to do better, or Musar can be connected how to improve my personality, how to become a better person, how to become a better husband, how to become a better parent, how to become a better human being. Overall, that's the concept of the Musar. Can you please turn on the phone again? I'm almost done, Rabotai. Thank you so much. So it says, during the history of Ahasuerus as the king, there was a time that the Jewish people refused to listen to the messages of Musar from Mordechai HaSaddik.
Okay.
They did not listen. That's why they went to the party of Ahasuerus. If they would have listened to the message of Mordechai, that a Jew was not allowed to go to the feast of Ahasuerus because he was celebrating a celebration against the entire Jewish people, maybe the threat of Purim would have never happened. So what did God do? When he saw that the people are not listening, he took a shaliach. What was the name of God's messenger? Haman. That's what the Gemara writes. The Gemara writes that if the behavior of the Jews does not change or improve, God sends messengers. Sometimes it's called Haman, sometimes it's called Ahasuerus. Different, whatever name you want, different generations have different names. So it says, when the people woke up, when Haman came, in the days of Haman, they finally inclined their ears and accepted the Torah and they did Teshuvah. That's why, if you look at the end of the Megillat Esther, Remember yesterday I mentioned how the Torah, the day of Purim is equal to Shavuot.
Yes.
So what did we do in Purim? We accepted the Torah. What did we do in the feast of Ahasuerus? We rejected the Torah. How did you listen to the Torah? By listening to the ear. So we call it Osne Haman, says Ezra Shimshon, because thanks to Haman, we did Teshuvah. Thanks to Haman, we became closer to God. And that's why the Gemara writes that the great-grandkids of Haman became Jewish people and became yeshiva students. And according to some, Rabbi Meir was a descendant of the sons of Haman. That's what the Gemara, yes.
Wow.
Yes. Or one of the Roman emperors. So now, the ears that we are eating are not the ears of Haman really. Are the ears of saying thank you to the ears for listening to the words of Mordechai, and we did Teshuvah. We call it the ears of Haman because it's easier to say the ears of Haman, or instead of giving a whole speech, no, we do the ears because the Jewish people heard, and thanks to Haman that put the rope against our neck, we are celebrating him. So we did an upgrade of Haman. How bad Haman was, thanks to him, the Jewish people did Teshuvah. By the way, it says Ezra Shimshon that we need to know that customs in the Jewish people cannot be ignored. Look how we have a whole derasha with a cookie. If you bring me a black and white cookie, I can also give you a derasha. And if you bring me a ba'alawa, I can also give you a derasha. Ka'ak, I can also give you a derasha. Gurekas as well. Every food, if you think about it, there is a lesson. Sometimes the lesson is in the name. Sometimes the lesson is in the ingredients of the food. So now,
Lebanon, always. Every Sunday.
for this reason, we have a rule that says, when Mashiach comes, all the holidays will be nullified, with one exception, Purim. Lo yasuf mizara'am, sa pasuk in the Megillah. Mashiach comes, we celebrate Purim. And the question is why? So the Zera Shimshon explains that all the holidays have a connection to Egypt. Matan Torah, Egypt. Egel, Egypt. Kippur, Egel, Egypt. Sukkot, Kippur, Egel, Egypt. All the holidays, with the exception of Purim. Purim is a story by itself. Purim, we celebrate the freedom. We were slaves in Purim. We were slaves of Ahasuerus. The extermination mode was there. And interesting enough, that the celebration of Purim is a celebration that we don't say Zecher Lisiat Misraim. All the other holidays, Zecher Lisiat Misraim Kiddush. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ומועדי קודשך בשמחה וששון הנחלתנו. Kiddush of the holiday. In Purim, we don't call Egypt, because Purim by itself was Egypt. Purim by itself, the slavery, the freedom, the salvation, the difference was that Purim didn't take 210 years for us to live in Egypt, plus 86 years of slavery. We were not slaves like we were in Egypt. We were oppressed. We were forbidden to learn Torah. We were obligated to bow down to Haman. Limited, because the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, on the 7th year of Ahasuerus, Mehila, on the 3rd year, he makes the party. On the 7th year, Esther comes. And by the 12th year, Ahasuerus was almost done. So very limited span, with a certain level of freedom, as humans,
But we were
but
not
not as
slaves.
Jewish people. But we are called slaves because when a threat exists against the Jewish people, that means that the enemies of the Jewish people has the upper hand. I'd like to finish the class of today with the following statement. Thank you so much. I mentioned how God owes Haman something. Why did God allow the descendants of Haman to become Jewish people? Because God says, your threat brought my children closer to me. I owe you one. That's what's written in the Gemara. Look in the Gemara in Megillah at the end. That the Bnei Bnei Haman, they were yeshiva students where Bnei Berak. Maaseh Beribi Eliezer, the night of Pesah, Shayu Mesubim Bnei Berak. Those were the students of Haman, descendants of Haman. You know what the Gemara writes? 1 minute. There is one more fellow that God also owed him something. There was one more fellow that God says, because of you, I'm going to give you a gift. Who was this fellow? A villain? No, Haman, we already took care of him. A villain. Agag was also a criminal. Think. No. Huh?
Pesah?
Paro.
Oh,
Paro in Egypt. Now what happened with Paro? Remember when we left Egypt by the 7th day, Paro is on the tail of the Jewish people.
came right.
What the Pasuk says, Uparo hikriv. The proper, I will explain in a moment. The proper Pasuk should have said, Uparo karav. Pas literally means, Paro got close to the Jewish people. That would have been the proper word in Hebrew. But the Torah doesn't use that word. The Torah uses the word hikriv, got closer. What does it mean, got closer? Hikriv liban shel Israel le'abihem shebashamayim. The presence of Paro brought the Jewish people closer to God. Because they see Paro behind them, what they do? Hazaku Baruch. They pray to God. God says, Paro, you brought my kids home. You gave my children a ride to come close to me. I owe you one. What did God do to Paro?
Yeah, what did he give him?
No. Paro survived the splitting of the Yam Suf.
Right.
The only Egyptian that went against the Jewish people to the Yam Suf and survived the drowning was Paro. And what happened with Paro after? He went to the famous city of Nineveh, the famous city of Yonah, the Aftara of Yom Kippur.
Yes.
Yonah goes to Nineveh, and the king of Nineveh listens to Yonah. Everybody must fast 3 days, including the animals. That's the Aftara of Kippur. Why do we read the Aftara of Kippur of Nineveh? Because of Teshuvah. Who was the main character of the Maftir Yonah besides Yonah? Paro. That God gave him longevity, and the moment that Paro heard that Yonah, the Jewish prophet, came delivering a message of God, Nineveh king says, we must listen to the rabbi. Why? Because the citizens of the city of Nineveh, which by the way is in Egypt, they were not good humans. They were not decent humans. I'll tell you some of the things that they will do. In the middle of the night, they will get up. Chag Sameach. In the middle of the night, they will get up. They will lift the fence of the next door neighbor. They move it 3 inches into your property. So my field becomes bigger.
They're stealing.
Stealing. Or they will go to the back they will take a couple of bricks without you knowing. So the king makes a proclamation. Everyone that has a stolen item must be returned. No questions asked. The people fasted. The people put on themselves sackcloth. And they did teshuvah. Comes the pasuk and it says, and God saw the change in their behavior. The pasuk didn't say God saw their fasting. God saw their sackcloth. God saw the change of behavior. On that zechut, Nineveh was saved. And that's why we read the Aventura in Yom Kippur. That's what the Gemara writes concerning Paro, the king of Egypt. Two criminals, Paro and Haman. But they did something good to benefit the Jewish people in their relationship with God. God says, I owe you one.
Because of that.
Even the dog, or the hamor, or the donkey, two non-kosher animals. Two non-kosher animals. In one of them, the dog says, Lakelev tashlichun oto. You have a certain type of non-kosher meat, give it to the dogs to eat. You have a donkey, a firstborn male donkey, you're supposed to redeem it, trade it for a sheep, give it to the Kohen. Rabotai, what I'm just saying now, you say this every day of the week. Kadeshli kol bechor, bechol peter hamor tivde evese, and all the male-born donkeys redeem them with a sheep. Why do we have to redeem a taref animal? Short answer, God says to the Jewish people, the donkey helped you carry the wealth when you left Egypt. So because he was so nice to you, I owe him one. I'm going to sanctify the donkey. That's the reason why. The dogs. Why the dogs? Because they did not bark when it came to the 10th plague. Ulchol bnei Israel lo yehiraz kelev leshono. The dog did not wet their tongue. What does it mean? The Gemara writes that when, God forbid, someone in a neighborhood or someone in a certain area is about to leave the world, certain animals have this gift of sensing that. One of them, the Gemara writes, is the dog.
Yeah.
Sometimes starts barking and making tremendous amount of noise. So when it came to the 10th plague, that thousands of Egyptians firstborn were about to perish, that night the dogs stay quiet. Why? Because God was coming for the execution. Himself. That's what we say in the Haggadah of Pesah.
Right.
Ani velo malach, ani velo saraf, ani velo shaliach, ani hu velo acher. Lo ella. Ani hu velo acher. That's a different paragraph. But that's Makat Bechorot. So God says, the dog recognized my presence. I owe him one. What do you give to the dog? Whatever you have a certain type of non-kosher meat, give it to the dog to say thank you on my behalf. You want one more? Oh no?
Yeah, of course.
They're not going to go in a row. Okay, I need to drink something.
Yeah.
What are you giving me for Purim? Tea? What happened to the wine? Not now, relax. Sit down, relax. Wine later in the Sauda, lechaim. It's only tea, okay? English breakfast.
Is it good? Right. Sweet?
Sahten.
Also the thing that the tefillin they use for the dog, no?
No. That's a different thing. No, nothing to do with what I'm saying now.
Can I ask a question on that?
Questions at the end, because we're recording live. Let me say one more thing, and then we'll go to the questions. Maybe today I make an exception, and we do the questions live only for Purim. Just don't get used to it. There was one more incident that happened over 5,783 years ago.
Wow.
one tiny incident. Who was the one who caused the incident? God Himself. Hashem said something that hurt someone. What did God do? We know in the creation of the world, God created the sun and the moon. The sun and the moon were equally created in the first week of the creation of the world. Both of them the same size. What you see today is the outcome of what I'm going to say now. And the Pasuk says, one will run the daytime, one will run the nighttime. Comes the moon and says to God, Dear God, how can two kings share the same crown? Meaning to say, if the sun and the moon are exactly the same, imagine yourself, I have two people that need a ride to a certain store, but I only have room for one. How am I going to make that decision? It's difficult. What did God do? God says to the moon that you say Birkat Levana, yes, the same moon, didn't age one bit, and is already 57 years and change old. You know what God said to the moon? Go and shrink yourself. Go and shrink yourself. He's in good hands. Go and shrink yourself. Now imagine yourself, the moon God is telling you, go and shrink yourself. You know what that means? That now the moon became this smaller part of the lunar system, or the solar system rather, while you have other planets which have different sizes. And the moon is towards the smallest size, correct?
Yes.
God says, I need to apologize to the moon. How God apologizes to the moon? This happens every month.
Birkat Levana.
No Birkat Levana. The Musaf of Rosh Chodesh. In the reading of the Torah of Rosh Chodesh, the Pasuk says, Us'ir Aizim Ehad Lehatat LaHashem. One sin offering for God. No other verse of the sacrifices, when the Torah talks about sins, mentions the names of God, with one exception, the offering of Rosh Chodesh. Why the offering of Rosh Chodesh? Because Rosh Chodesh is determined by the moon. So every month we announce Rosh Chodesh, God says, Uli, again the moon is going to feel bad. What can I do to her? God says to us, do something on my behalf. How long is this going on, Rabotai? 5,783 times 12. Give me your calculator now. Thank you, Professor. Hazaku Baruch. You're doing great. You're doing great. So imagine yourself, 5,007. I'm going to do something crazy now, but I'm going to give you a discount, okay? Shalom, I know you're doing it. 5,783 times 12 months average, 69,396 months since the creation of the world. But this is a commercial, infomercial. If you call now, we give you a 2 for 1. Plus shipping and handling for the next 25 callers. But
the two others.
wait, no, I'm giving you that. I'm eating that profit. But the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh only began in the year 2448. So I deduct 2448. I have net 3,335 years since Rosh Chodesh became an official mitzvah of the Torah. times 12, 40,020. I'm going to throw in every 3 years Adar Bet. I'm going to throw in, maybe I give you 1,000 times. I make it easy. 42,000, no, it's too much. 40,500. 40,500 times God apologized to the moon.
Wow. And going on. And it's still
And
going.
continues till the day of Mashiach's arrival.
Wow.
Thank you. Chazak. 40,500 times we say this verse since the Torah was given and the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh. I repeat, 40,500, God sends a message to the moon through us to apologize for one comment that God said to the moon. So I ask you a question. Why God is acting this way?
Okay.
You know why? God is teaching us a lesson.
Us.
Sometimes you hold a grudge against someone and you don't talk to your brother, to your cousin, to your relatives, to your friend for 20 years. 40,000 times God is asking the moon for forgiveness.
Wow.
40,500. This number may be too small, but I'm giving you today, Purim, an average number, but I'm very close to the accurate number. For me, even 40 times is too much. Can you imagine 40,000 months since the Torah was given? And I'm not going the Gregorian calendar because they're cheating you on the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar only had 10 months for years. That's why the name of the calendars, month, for example, December. December comes from the number 10. November 9. October 8. September 7. February was the beginning of the calendar. July and August never existed.
Wow.
They were added by Julius Caesar. And when Julius Caesar had a month, August, he says, I also want a month. And then the church adjusted from February something to January, because January is the name of an idol for livelihood, and that's why it's called Janus Fund. That's the name of that idol. So they cheated you in the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar do the numbers. From the time of the Roman Empire, only had 10 months. Then they added, we live in an exile land. Thank you very much. We live in an exile land, so to write a check, you need to write
The date.
the March 2nd or March 7th. You can't write 14 of Nisan, 14 of Adar. Good enough for you today?
Hazako Baruch.
Wait, I'm not done yet.
Oh,
I'm going to do one more thing, and then we'll open the floor for questions. Anyways, you cannot go to work in Purim.
no. Kobe Cohen, we have a...
You have a date? You have a Saudah.
Saudah.
Okay, so for that, I'm going to let you go. But I'm going to say one short statement. I don't know if word in my vocabulary exists, but I'm going to try to do the best. On the day of Purim, it says the halacha that 30 days before Purim, we start learning about Pesah. So we know very well that 30 days from today, Tuesday night, we're going to do Bedikat Hames. And the next day, we're going to do the Siyum, burning of the Hames, disposing of the Hames, etc. So I'm going to take the opportunity to learn maybe one or two halachot in honor of Pesach, and then we'll open the floor for questions. All right? So it says that we learn the halachot of Pesach 30 days before. So it says, we begin from the actual day of Purim, the day that we are erasing Amalek. That means that we're getting rid of the separation between Hames and Matzah. What does this mean? I need my pen again. So, What it says is as follows. I'm going to write in Hebrew the word Hames. It's not the nicest writing today, but today will do. I have here Hames. I have here matzah. What's the difference between Hames and matzah? I'm going to start talking. First of all, $25, the pound of matzah, 25, and a loaf of bread, $3. That's a huge difference. But that's not, nobody laughed. You did. Thank you. You did also? Okay, next time do it louder.
It's more than 25.
More than 25, that's true. But let's look. Look at the letters. Mem, mem. You see the mem? You see the mem. Tzadik, tzadik. Het, he. What is the difference between the letter het and the letter he?
But
No, the difference is as follows. The het, like the letter says, het, is the letter of sinning, of sin. That's why if you're connected to the sin, you go down the drain. You go down. There is no opening.
right.
The he, the Gemara writes, has a tiny opening that even if you go down, God allows a U-turn and you're able to come back to the ways of the Torah. That's what the difference between Hames and Matzah is all about. The mitzvah of Hames, the way it says, is not only getting rid of the Hames, removing the Hames, selling the Hames, burning the Hames. All these are physical actions of Hames. It says, you know what is the true removal of the Hames? When we clean our neshama. And today, the day of Purim, we have the power and the gift that because Amalek and Haman is destroyed, we are able to breathe better, spiritually speaking. Because what do you think is happening now? We're learning more than usual. We have a day full of mitzvot. We started from fasting yesterday, synagogue, Megillah, Ma'asit Shekel, all the goodies that we have done. What do you think that does to a neshama? That inflates the neshama. That is like you are literally cleansing our neshama. It says that this power of today lasts till Pesach. Can you imagine I don't have to walk around with a backup battery? I have a phone that it tells me the more you use it, the more the battery gets charged. And my phone today by 9:30 in the morning was already, half full.
Empty.
I have the backup. That's why I have the backup. I have another backup at home. I have another backup in the office. And a backup on top of me. So it says, Purim begins the preparation for Pesach. You want to start preparing for Pesach? We're starting now. Okay, my good friends? So I wish everybody Pesach Kasher Besameach in advance and Purim Sameach. Happy Purim. You had a question? Go ahead.
The question is, if Pharaoh was saved because Am Israel, he brought him to him. Haman also brought us to us, but yet Haman was killed. Why was Haman killed and Pharaoh saved?
Excellent question. So the question is as follows. Why Paro was killed, Paro was saved, and Haman was executed? Short answer, because Paro recognized God, and Haman did not. That's simple. Mi chamocha ba'elim Hashem, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. This verse from your daily prayers, it's said by Paro. Paro says, who is like you, God? Haman hated God. Haman hated the Jewish people. And as I said the other day, every single citizen was bowing down to Haman. Because one guy doesn't bow down to you, you'll go crazy. Okay, you went crazy, you pay the price. But recognize, God says, you recognize me, I'll take care of you. ברוך אדוני לעולם,
אמן,
אמן
אמן.
ואמן. רבי חנניה בן הקשה אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל לפיכך ירבה להם תורה מצוות שנאמר, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, יגדיל תורה ויגדיל.